that digital content creation is here to stay. Content creators of today will be normalizing the profession for generations ahead. We have multiple young children that are aspiring to be digital content creators, something that is not easily understood by the generations that possibly preceded ours. So then let's help our audience understand in this last segment what the shift in this generation is. Let's break it down. Let's break down the past of influencing, what it was like being on the big screen versus what it is like now, having an entire community inside of these small applications as we understand it. Joining us on the broadcast is Aksh Baghla, who in fact has multiple followers on social media. He has over 2 million followers, 2.94 million followers on YouTube. Aksh also has 288,000 Instagram followers. Aksh, from where you started, to where you are now, firstly help us understand, how old were you when you started this, as let's say when you started to become a singer and a YouTuber? How old were you then? And how old are you now? And how has the journey been like?
So, hi, first of all, thank you for having me. After my college, actually, when I completed my graduation, I started, I was seeing this, because that time there's not a lot of YouTube being watched in India. So I used to watch all these YouTubers from outside India, and that's where I saw, that's where I saw the market, and I saw this is something that should be done in India, and nobody's doing it. So that's where it all started, and I love music, so I picked that. I started this in 2016, where I did my first cover mashup, and I mean it's been now 6 years, 5-6 years that I've been doing this. So yeah.
Right. Aksh, also tell us now, do you think that this industry itself, in the industry of influencing, let's say, is something that is going to grow exponentially? And if you could now also draw a comparison of where it was before when you started and where it is now.
I think when I started, there was a time when, I mean, if you see YouTube or Instagram, let's talk about YouTube. So there's not a lot of mass audience on YouTube. That happened just after Jio came in, right? Which gave internet access to so many people. After that, more and more content creators started coming in. There was much more viewership from all over India. And let's just talk about right now. If we see in this COVID-19 phase, when more and more people are at home, this has again opened so many opportunities for creators to make much more impactful content, like let's say inspirational content, because people are mentally not able to cope up with the pandemic, DIY videos, or people are also cooking at home, so recipes. So there's definitely a lot of growth and opportunities even in the coming years. People are watching much more video now online because they're at home, and it has created much more opportunities. And if somebody is passionate about something, he can just start making videos, content about that, and like today he can definitely make a career in living out of it.
Okay. In fact, Varun Mayya is still with us on the broadcast, and Varun has been kind enough to stay back and take this conversation forward. Varun, if you could help us understand, very interestingly, Aksh has spoken about the genres that have evolved over the past couple of years. How many genres, or in fact, it's going to be difficult to put a number on them, but how have you seen these genres evolve? And from where you see it, Varun, what is the future of influencing? What does it look like?
Yeah, so I think more than anything, there's a breakdown happening, right? So maybe like 5 years in the past, we had say 5, I'm just giving you hypothetical numbers, right? Maybe 5 or 10, right? Today what started happening is those 5, 10 are breaking down. So each one now has like 5 subsets, right?
Yeah.
So even in music, now you have like people who make like Yash Raj, who makes like weird music, right? Then you have people who actually make serious music. So you have like these breakdowns. Like in finance now you have influencers, just crypto influencers. You have people who are just, maybe stock market influencers. You have guys who are doing technical analysis. You have guys who are doing, long-term investment analysis, right? So you have this breakdown happening, and I feel like over the next 10 years, it sort of answers your question of the future as well. You're going to see a further breakdown, right? So even cryptos going to start being broken down to 5, 6 things, etc., right? So very excited for it, and each new niche that gets created gives birth to a new set of influencers, right? Who also have the ability to climb up to the top again. And by climb up, I mean go all the way to being, a finance influencer, all the way from crypto influencer now to finance influencer. So I think excited for that.
Right, Varun, also do you think now that the industry is growing and a lot of people are now getting on the platform, do you think maybe attention span of people is also reducing, and now influencers are going to have to create content that's lesser than 30 seconds? Now reels and your stories are lesser than say 10 to 30 seconds. Now do you think that 5 or 3 second bites of content now to be will be need to be created?
Yeah, so I think it's also a function of the platforms, right? I mean, earlier we had YouTube and now we have all the way to TikTok. So I feel like even the platforms are enforcing that, because the platform, like, what's the goal of YouTube, right? YouTube tries to keep you on the platform as long as possible, right? If your content has great retention, it will continue to show your content. If you're the best creator in the world, but your content gets like, say, 3% retention or 5% retention, YouTube's not going to show it.
Yeah.
Right? So TikTok figured out how to have that long-term retention, right? And by long-term, I mean having used it in front of your phone for like 5-6 hours a day. So I'm very unclear though, and this is me personally, I'm very unclear what is the long-term perspective of apps like this, because Vine tried this. There was an app called Vine that did something similar to what TikTok did, and they ran for a few years and then they died, right? So long-term of YouTube is very clear, right? YouTube has stood the test of time, so have apps like Twitter. But I'm not so sure about apps like TikTok. Only time will tell. I don't have an answer.
Right, Aksh. So, Aksh, could you tell us, do you think that the platform drives the influencers and their content, or do you think the users and the influencers themselves drive the content?
When we talk about like a content which is produced for the masses, something that appeals to more audience, that is the content that is definitely driven by the platform, and they push it as well. But if there is, like I think Varun touched on the topic very well about the niche creators that are coming up. I think these niche creators have a very strong high engagement, and they're definitely not going to be platform driven. And these people who are getting high amount of value from these creators are going to keep watching their content for the value they're getting, and they're going to keep supporting them.
Okay, all right. Varun, so then, my next question is for you. If you could just also quickly help us understand, as far as then the future is concerned, a lot of the money that we've understood over the course of the last, 1.5 hours is that a lot of the money also comes in from ads. So, do you think that in the future, going ahead, do you think that ads are in fact going to want to be more on the digital platforms vis-a-vis, let's say, mainstream media channels such as television or radio? Do you think that shift is also going to happen slowly and steadily?
No, I think it's already happened. No, I think it's all like advertising revenue has already moved online. But I'll tell you something more interesting, right? Today, the commerce sites that we have, that we're familiar with in India, are like Flipkart, Amazon, maybe the Shopify-based sites.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing in countries like China, right, is the e-commerce sites don't look like e-commerce sites. They look like entertainment sites.
Yeah.
Right. So in China, like almost all the e-commerce apps in China and websites in China will remind you of our old school, TVC. Remember, we used to have those people selling sauna belt where, for 15 minutes they'll do a jingle on TV and then they'll say, you can just dial this number and buy this sauna belt. So it's going to be very similar, right? We're going to see almost the exact same thing. So an influencer talking about, say, something and then saying, hey, you can just press this button below and buy it. In fact, I even extend that, right? I think the past of the internet was web pages, interconnected web pages created by web developers. The future of the internet is interconnected stores and entertainment sites created by creators, right? So I think eventually, and this is my long-term belief, that creators are eventually going to get off the platforms and become the platforms themselves, right? So I'm very excited for that evolution of the internet, and it's inevitable, right? If you see apps like Discord, that's exactly what they did, or what they enabled.
Right, that's a very interesting thought, Varun. I'd like to take Aksh's thought on this. Aksh, do you think that now, so say there's YouTube, right, which retains viewers for a long duration of time, and I feel that people are moving in two different directions where after an influencer creates themselves as a brand, they then move on to OTT platforms or sometimes even movies and larger screens, whereas there's another stream of people moving towards smaller platforms like TikTok or Reels or Snapchat. So Aksh, what do you think about that?
What I think is like about are you talking about like the future of content, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the future
Right.
of content. So sometimes people are moving to a bigger screen and some other people are moving towards a smaller screen. So what do you think is going to be the majority of the choice?
I think it really depends on the creator and what he has for his future, what he thinks is best for him. Like Varun said about about websites specifically which are more entertainment based. Recently, I got a news that Instagram is also set up like a store where creators can now sell their products.
Yeah.
So I think that's something more and more that we're going to see in the future, that creators are going to become businessmen. Like right now, most of the revenue comes from specifically ads and brand endorsements. But in the future, we're going to see more creators being co-founders and creating brands and not just selling merchandises, but even more products. They're gonna associate with brands in a long-term association where maybe there's equity involved, or and like if we talk about brand endorsements right now, it's like pretty like it's not the way a creator wants it. So I think there's a lot of understanding that has to be done, where the brand has to evolve and has to explore creative ideas collectively with the creators, and they can be much smarter product integrations which are much more relevant to creators and create more value to the brand itself. So I think that other things that we're going to see in the future, definitely. But answering your question, I think it really depends on the creator if he wants to go to an OTT. I mean, it really because as a businessman, if somebody wants to be like a businessman, he can start his own thing. If somebody wants to connect with like a bigger company, and they can do their own thing. So it
Okay,
really
all
depends.
right. Aksh, thank you so much for that trail of thought that you've given us, that train of thought. If I can rope in Varun once again, and we're running out of time, so this is of course going to be the last question for this show. Varun, so then it's only going to be fair for us here on NewsX to ask, how can we bring together not only digital but also television, right? Because these mediums are not isolated from each other. Look at us, we're having a conversation with influencers, digital content creators on television. So then Varun, how do we bring together these mediums to take it forward and create an overarching ecosystem, so to say?
Damn, that's a hard question. Do you guys want the diplomatic answer, or do you want
No, be honest,
the-
be brutally honest,
the honest
please.
answer?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're now we've reached a point where it's like television is about to be sunset, right? I think maybe another 5 years, and this is my personal opinion. You guys might disagree, viewers might disagree, but this is what I think, right? I think television is on its way out, but that doesn't mean it's out for all the brands on television, right? For example, the NewsX can always go and start a YouTube channel, right? So the companies and the brands will still exist, but the platform will change, right? And even if people, I mean, I'm sure people are still buying television sets, but those will be powered by Netflix, Amazon Prime, and even YouTube, right? In fact, they come prepackaged with these 3 platforms. So you will use the television, but you will load up YouTube on that television and watch people like Aksh, and maybe in NewsX when you guys are on YouTube, right? This is what I personally believe. I could be wrong, but.
Right, Varun, you've
I
left
wanna
us with
touch
a
upon
very
that.
scary thought, especially for 2 television journalists. It's a very scary thought to have.
Okay, all right. Varun as well
I will touch
as...
upon that, I believe, if I can.
yeah, go ahead, Aksh, please go ahead, and then we're going to slip
Yeah.
into a quick break.
Yeah, I just want to talk about like my family, like my dad, my mom. So recently, like 1 year, like 6-7 months back, only they got a smart television, and they moved from the the traditional TV to a smart TV. But still, like you said, like Varun said, there's going to be Netflix or Amazon Prime or YouTube. But I think like when it comes to TV, they can have their own OTT apps, right? So like my dad. So when you start a smart TV, you see all these apps right there, Netflix, this, and they can be like a news, category which will have all the news channels. So I think that's what's going to be in the future.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Varun, as well as Aksh, for being with us on NewsX Influencer A-List. We wish we could take this conversation forward because indeed it has become very interesting, but we're going to have to cut it short. We're running out of time. Thank you so much to our viewers as well for tuning in, being a part of this very special show. A lot more is going to keep coming ahead over the course of the next couple of weeks and months. We're going to keep bringing you influencers such as the ones that you saw.
More such creators and with more interesting conversations and get their insights into several aspects of what makes an influencer.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.